exciting to have you all join us today. For those of you who I've not met before, my name's Ollie. I'm Head of Marketing at Jolly Learning, probably the best job in the world, I think, as we get to help millions of kids learn to read and write around the world and over 150 countries. So a real privilege to have that role. And today we're going to be walking through Jolly Classroom, which is our digital platform. It's where we do most of our innovative work. And we've got a lot more coming in Jolly Classroom next year. It's really engaging, it's really fun. We love how over 40,000 educators use it around the world today. And it's a brilliant tool for many, many different places. So I'd love to hear from you in the comments today. So please get in the chat, tell us where you're joining us from today. I'm in Kent, in England. But it's great to hear where everyone's joining us from today. And throughout the session today, we've also got my colleague Kyriaki on the call. So any queries or questions that you have during the session, please do ask in the chat. We'll try and answer them all here. If we can't answer them, we will take it offline and try and get you a response and email you an answer on that as well. The feedback we get from our community powers us. In fact, when we had our recent webinar around the handwriting books, it actually resulted in another product being added to our mix. So the feedback you give us is really, really valuable. At the end, we're going to pick someone at random, well, for a quiz, and to see if you're paying attention and give you a free year's subscription to Jolly Classroom. Jolly Classroom is available today across all the app stores. You can use it in your web browser. It's available on your mobile device, and Yvonne's going to talk through how you can use it to teach kids to read and write. Now, I'm very lucky on that point that Yvonne is here. Yvonne's our head of training. She's also one of the world's most dedicated experts in phonics education. We're incredibly lucky to have her as part of our team. So I am going to pass over to Yvonne, who's going to run the show. I will probably see you here at the end. But in the meantime, get in the chat and please do ask us any questions you have as we go throughout this. Thank you. Yvonne, over to you.
Well, thank you, Ollie. And I'm absolutely amazed looking at the chat, just seeing where everyone is logging in from. It truly is global. And thank you for joining. And what I would say is what makes this so encouraging is the input from you, as Ollie has said. And I may be very passionate about phonics, but that's driven by you. And I never forget that. So that's the most important thing. So what are we going to do today? We have had lots of questions about Jolly Classroom, so we thought, wouldn't it be great if we could go through it again? And this time, as Ollie has said, we are bringing in a few more features into it and also extending how you can use it. So welcome to this Jolly Classroom walkthrough. And for some of you, it's a familiar resource that you're already using. And you may be coming to join us for the first time, and you might be a little bit curious about what it is. So what's in the session? Well, the session is an opportunity to get a little overview about Jolly Phonics, because to understand Jolly Classroom, we just need to know a little bit about Jolly Phonics. And also we're going to do a walkthrough. We've only got about an hour, but as Ollie has mentioned, and Kyriaki is going to help with questions, if you have any long questions, save them to the end, because we are going to have a little bit of time so that we can respond to questions. More importantly, what I'm going to be doing throughout this is giving you some tips for English as a second language, and also how we use it with special educational needs and diversity. But more than anything, I want you to have some tips so that if you are a user, you can practice them tomorrow. And if you are thinking about trying out the product, you have a place to start. So this is all very good. So what is Jolly Phonics? Well, briefly, because we don't have a great deal of time, it is an amazing systematic synthetic phonics program. And what we do know is this structure is an amazing foundation for young children to scaffold their literacy knowledge. In getting the foundations in correct at the beginning, we then give them a wonderful flight path with their education, moving on to grammar and extending their literacy skills. It's also highly successful, as I mentioned, in English as a second language environment. And I'm going to be showing you a little bit about that as we move on. There are a wide range of resources. Now, for many schools, they like to curate their resources to fit their curriculum. And that is one of the amazing things about the products, is that the ability to adapt it to what you need for your ages and also the curriculum you're teaching with. But more than anything, it is a multi-sensory program, and we are highly aware that children all have different ways of learning, just like you. I should imagine if I asked any of you out there, how do you remember things best? Some of you might say, well, I like to write, or I sing, or I'm a visual learner, I'm a sensory learner. So we have taken that on board, and all the activities that we have in Jolly Phonics, we've brought them over to Jolly Classroom as well. So we're addressing all your children's needs in the classroom, but also the children who may need support during the program. And more than anything with Jolly Phonics, you'll notice here in one of the bullet points, I say fast pace, but the great thing is you can adapt it to how you want to use it. Many of you are probably working in an environment where you only have possibly three classes per week. Well, you can adapt it to that. And that is the beauty of the product. We don't give it a bandwidth with ages. We make sure that it is free flowing, it can overlap, and it can also be extended and reduced to fit how you want it to go with your planning. And more than anything, you can see here, we have lesson plans. And that's the one thing I would say about using Jolly Classroom, is that having something like the teacher's book is a great addition, because the teacher's book gives you amplified information to support your phonics class. It gives you ideas on how to get started, how to finish off, but it also helps with your core teaching point. But luckily enough, on the platform, we have teacher's notes that are included. This is a great validation, because if we're thinking about the Department of Education, they have very, very high benchmarks and desired outcomes, and we have achieved all of those. So to have this validation means that you are secure that what we are delivering has been rigorously tested, but also researched. And that is a thumbs up from us, meaning that you have everything in place to have a secure program to deliver in your class. This is a question we get asked an awful lot. Are they the same? Is Jolly Classroom the same as Jolly Phonics? Fundamentally, yes. And I'm going to show you why. We have the same steps, because if we think about Jolly Phonics, some of you who are familiar with Jolly Phonics, in the chat, tell me how many pupils books are there? And I'm going to ask Kyriaki if any of you have got it right. Very quickly, how many pupils books are there in Jolly Phonics? Kyriaki, is anyone writing? Any responses, Ollie?
There's lots of responses. We've got I can't even keep up with it. There's so many. 2, 5, 7, 6, 3, 3, 7, 7,
Right.
3, 6.
So some of you have got it right, and you're going to have to listen, because this is really important as well for us when we're thinking about Jolly Phonics and Jolly Classroom. Jolly Phonics has 3 steps, and these 3 steps are the pupils books, which you are probably familiar with, where we're starting with the letter sounds and also then moving on to children amplifying their skills. It's a wonderful spiral of learning. But as you can see here on the slide, it is the same steps as Jolly Phonics. It also uses the same programming, in that it's the same flight path, it's the desired flight path. And also it has a great variation of blending and segmenting. But more than anything, what Jolly Classroom is doing is addressing the digital component that is required for our literacy curriculum. And also, I bet many of you in the chat box would say, do children pay attention in class? Have they got an issue where they want to do more digital than they do more writing? I bet some of you are going to put yes, 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 yes. Attention, attention. So what we've done with this program, which is absolutely amazing, is that we've combined things so that what you're doing on the digital platform, that can be transferred very easily to the paper-based resources. So children are making a constant connection with what they are learning and how they are demonstrating that knowledge. And if you are a teacher, you know that that's extremely important for your evaluation and your assessment. Very briefly, these are the letter sound groups that we use in Jolly Phonics, and they are also in Jolly Classroom. And one point that is extremely important is please don't change them around and don't miss out letter sounds. The program is constructed to follow all of these letter sound groups in a meaning and purposeful way. All of the resources follow the trajectory of the letter sound groups so that children are constantly moving forward. We never put a child in a position where they're doing something they don't know how to do. So if they are, for example, doing a letter sound in group 5, they will be extremely secure with all the letter sound groups they've done before. Now, that is an amazing thing for a small child to be able to use that knowledge, put it into practice, and also have a little bit of fun as well. You know, if I think about how I learned to read and write, I can't remember, but somehow somebody taught me, and we want to make it fun. And I can imagine that some of you would put in the chat box there, can you remember who taught you how to read and write? And I bet it's a no, because it's something that we acquire and we just move on with it. And we just want to make sure that this is a very easy process for the children. Something really important to mention that is unique to our program are the 5 key skills. And these are interlaced into all the activities to a lesser or greater degree, means that children are constantly touching on these elements. And in Jolly Classroom, you will see as I take you through how we are using all of these. The last one, tricky words, comes with group 6. And this is because children will have enough strategies and skills to be able to tackle these tricky words that need a little bit more attention. So how are we doing? Can we have a thumbs up? Is everybody okay? Have a look in the chat. We're getting some thumbs up. Would you like to give me? Yes, look at this. We've got loads of thumbs up. So that's just great. Many of you will think, well, do you know what? I've seen resources and I like resources that children can use. And I want to know, how can I use these along with Jolly Classroom? We've got just a few resources here, and I'm sure that in the chat, Oli or Kiriaki will put in our e-commerce shop so that you can pop in there and have a look. But imagine that you're in your classroom and you want to work one-to-one with a child. You want a child who may need some intervention. You're also working with a child who may be on an individual educational plan. How amazing it is if you can sit with them with the blending strips and also use the finger phonic books or the blending cards and also the handwriting books. These are just a small section. So pop into our shop and have a look and see how these can be amplified. But also what you will see is that everything we do in Jolly Classroom makes a meaningful connection with the resources that you can get as well. And these resources work very well to support intervention alongside Jolly Classroom, also language acquisition. So before I move on, do we have any short questions in the chat that I need to address before I get excited about looking at Jolly Classroom? I'm getting loads of thumbs up still, so that's really good. Anything that I need, any questions?
I think you're all good, Yvonne.
Okay, let's move
Good.
forward. So we mentioned that we have 3 steps, just like the pupils books. So the first step is our initial foundation. And here children are introduced to the letter sounds. And as you can see on the image we have there, it's the easy way for children to work through from the single sounds moving on to group 4, where we introduce digraphs, which are 2 letters making 1 sound. But that process is done gradually and children are building up those 5 key skills. Children are also working on their letter formation. And remember, we are really mindful that some of your children are quite small. And I think many of you as teachers in the class will know that a child born in January is completely different to a child born in December when they're that small. So we've thought about that, and we've brought in some activities for that. Also, the progression means that children who have English as a second language are acquiring vocabulary, and I'll discuss that a little bit further on. But also, those skills that I've mentioned about blending and segmenting are given the opportunity to be put into practice. When we move on to step 2, children are becoming very familiar with the way that we're bringing the program to them. Words like blending and segmenting don't sound odd anymore, and they can do this really comfortably. But then we're bringing them to aspects like tricky words, which require a little bit more thinking. But because they have progressed, this is a skill that fits in as we distribute the tricky words over the classes, and children are building up their knowledge. Knowledge not only in listening, in speaking, letter formation, but remember, if you are looking at something, you are reading. And if you are reading something out loud, you are speaking. So we've got the left and right side of the brain working all together. This especially is a great pathway for children who may need some help, struggling students, and students who are on the special needs register. So as you can see, we're building up. And then when we get to step 3, you can see it's now looking at really concrete concepts, and children are using their knowledge to begin emerging reading and writing, but also we want them to have a go. So all those letter sounds, the tricky words are beginning to make sense. And also they're beginning to do a lot more with dictation. So you can see it's really amplified out. It's an amazing progress, and you see it all unfold very easily. And more than anything, using the Jolly Classroom and the resources from Jolly Phonics is a complete resource. How did I use it? Well, when I was teaching using Jolly Classroom, I would look at the lesson content and think, what do I need to focus on? It was also a great way to warm up my class because children were engaged. We might go back to the class I'd done before and use familiar content, because children who may be struggling a little bit in the class, if you give them something they've done before, they feel confident and they're in a place ready to go forward. And this works exceptionally well with children who may need that support, and also children who have English as a second language. We can tune in. All those children who are coming in from being in the playground or from dinner, they can sit down and I can get them warmed up with doing activities before I move on to my target teaching. So everything is laid out for me. And this is also available in the drop-down menu and also the teacher's book in what I need. So how do I get started? Very easy. I log into jollyclassroom.com and it will open up onto this page. You have the opportunity to try it for free, and we'll talk a little bit more about that when I've finished walking you through the session. But you can open on Jolly Classroom, and as you can see here, it's quite easy and clear. And then it will bring you to this page where you have a yellow lozenge. And on this yellow lozenge, it will open up Jolly Classroom. You can also use it at the bottom as well here. So as you can see, the onboarding process is not complicated at all. Then when we move on to our menu page, on the left-hand side, you will see that you have several titles. And more on the right, you will see we have the glossary of all the activities. And I'll explain a little bit more about those as we move on. The most important thing here is where we can join. And I'm sure Ollie will give you a little bit more of an insight of that at the end about where we can join. But this little toggle that you see at the bottom here, that's where you need to go in. And once you've gone into that little toggle button, you will see that I have got all my settings. I've set up my class, I can see my subscription. I can also allocate teachers. It's that easy. It's not complicated, and even more so depending on the curriculum you're working with, because remember, we do American English, and we do British English, and we also do precursive and cursive writing. At the bottom here, you can decide what suits your teaching environment. That's it. It's not complicated at all. So your onboarding process is here, and also you can keep adding your classes and give them the name. This means that under one license, all your teachers are able to access their profile and be able to go through the program to suit their children and also the year group. So can I get a thumbs up? That's okay. Do I need to go on about this? Let me know if this is, yes, look at all these thumbs up coming. Great. Thank you. Wonderful. Brilliant. And boom, my favorite bit. Here we are as we go on board, and you're going to see the glossary here. And what you will see here is all the activities. Now, this isn't the page I really want, but we've got this here so that if you are a TA, if you are working with a child one-to-one, if you're working with a small group, you can easily access all the activities that go in the lessons. So this page we can talk about a little bit more, but more than anything, we want to go into my class. So let's go. So I'm looking at the activities here, and as you can see, I'm giving you an overview so that you can see all the different steps. And in some of these steps, you can see that we are revising. I can revise many of the activities I've done. But remember when I mentioned before that maybe I have a child that I'm not really sure about is getting the but and the duh. Thumbs up if your children have an issue with the but and the duh. Yeah, look at that. And we resonate with that. So, you know, if you're working with a child, you may want to go back and you may want to just take them away and sit in the classroom and go over that formation. So this is why this is important for you, because it gives you a chance to just quickly dip in to revise before you move on. And you can see we go down the 3 steps, and they can become, it's increasing the knowledge of the child as well, as you can see on here. But let's go and pop into a lesson. And as we pop into a lesson, oh, there you can see our downloadable resources. Now, if you are familiar with the pupils books, you will see that they are very similar. Again, you may decide you want to use the downloadable resource for a complete class activity. And that can be quite good, because those children in your lesson that you thought, I'm not entirely sure about them, we can invite them up to work on the whiteboard, or we can download the page so that we can see how are they consolidating that class information, or maybe they need some additional support. So we can use these in many different ways. Also, for many of you who are working in an environment where we have children who are on a special needs register, you may need to have evidence. So these are great ways for you to be able to show progression and also areas that might need further attention. So let's have a look at the steps. And as we've mentioned, we have step 1, 2, and 3, and we're going to pop into step 1. And I've gone for lesson, the last one. Here we go. I'm going to stop for a moment. This is the last sound in the first group. I've picked this so that we get the opportunity to do a few more activities. If I'd have gone for the first one, it would be a much shorter lesson where we're introducing the concept of the sound and the story. So I'm using the so that we can do a few more activities. Now, what you'll see here, which is absolutely lovely, is a very clear posting for the children on what the letter sound is. And at the bottom, we have a line which is telling me how far I am progressing within this activity. And as the children go on, they'll get the opportunity to practice that sound. The question mark helps the teacher to be able to look at the teaching notes if they want to have a glance before they do their lesson. But again, as I mentioned, the teacher's book is also available. And we can press the button to move on. So children are using their skill to be able to use their letter sound knowledge and their graphing. What you saw there was the drop-down menu, and I pressed, and we're going to listen and write, because at this point, children should be able to make that discrimination. So they're hearing the t sound. So we can invite them up so that they can use the tools so that they can do the act.
Ah.
Ah. Let's hear the next one.
E.
Eh. Now, what I would also do, if I was in my classroom and children were not getting this, they were putting, is it eh? No, we haven't done eh yet. Is it ah or is it eh? And they were getting confused. What I would do is ask them, can you do the action? Can you do the air letter? Let's rub this out and use the tools and come on up and try again. This is how I'm using the multisensory approach so that children can use all the information that I've been helping them with their action, the correlation with the sound and the graphing, the shape. But if I'm not entirely sure, if it doesn't work one way, we try another way. If they can't remember how the letter formation works, let's try if they remember the action. If they don't remember the action, let's see if they can remember the air letter. If they really are stuck, ask a friend, get pair helping, that activity within the class is extremely important. So there's lots of solutions to using the digital resource to help. And here I've rubbed it out and I'm going to go forward again and try with a different technique. So we're going to move on to the story, one of my favorite things. Now, all the sounds come with a story. And the idea is that the story provides a wealth of information and vocabulary for children. Many of the children in our class have English as a second language. So it's extremely important that they're hearing the story, and each story focuses on words that have the sound that we are teaching. So in this case, they are hearing the sound. And also the really lovely graphics help the children become engaged, and all the little things within the graphics here on this illustration means that there is that curiosity with what they can see. And we'll have a look at how we can amplify that. So we have our story.
It is Sunday afternoon,
and Nicola has gone fishing with her grandfather.
While Grandpa sets up his fishing rod, Nicola puts
a
her
net
net in the pond and places a big bucket on the ground.
Okay. And look at this. Isn't this the best deal ever? That you can use a spyglass. Can you imagine the way you could use this in a classroom? So what I'm going to say to you now, get you ready to put your answers in the chat. Can you see something pink? So let me know what's in the chat, Ollie and Kiriaki. Can you see something pink? Now imagine you're 5 years old and you're in your classroom. Can you see something pink? Yes, I can see all the things. And can you see a number? What number can you see? Are we getting any answers, Ollie and Kiriaki?
Yes, everyone's saying 9.
Okay.
Matthew, well done. I think you were the first.
Okay, so we see that there's 9 here, 9. All right, what does 9 begin with? And so the children would be using that and everything, and I'd also be looking at other things around there. I can see something that is red. Can you see something that is blue? So what I am doing is using cross-curricular information, getting the children engaged, not only in the letter sounds that we're doing, but also amplifying that to their local knowledge. The one good thing about using this is that we're not just using phonics in isolation, but we're also encouraging to use their knowledge areas of the curriculum. So as you saw there, it's good to revise the sound and the shape. And here, this is our letter formation. Now, I like this very much because we've done it using the program, but I want the children to come up and have a go. I want them to try and trace the letter shape. Now, why is this important? Because they need to know the starting point. They need to go, the descendant, they need to know where they're going up. And this is imprinting. The more that they're doing this with their finger tracking, it will transpose to when they're writing and they're using a pencil. For some children, it takes a long time. Writing can be one of the last things they do. And imagine if you're coming from a language where you're using a different symbolic code, and you're also going from right to left, not left to right. So we need to build in this practice, and within the program, you'll find there's many opportunities. But here, what I'm doing is extending that by giving rainbow letters and giving the children the opportunity to come up and keep trying, have a go. And how beautiful does that look? You know, you can choose your color, you can make it look gorgeous. And then we have bubble letters. Isn't this great? Look at this as it goes around. And this is great fun. And the children again can practice. Now we're moving on to concepts such as blending. Blending and segmenting are key to the success of delivery with phonics. Many children do this very successfully orally, but what we want them to do is make sure that they are covering all the concepts and it doesn't become a robotic approach. Our first exposure to blending and segmenting, we can have the opportunity, as you can see here, of hearing the word and also looking at how it comes together with sounds. Here we go.
Ah.
Now, just imagine my children are really good at blending and segmenting, but I want to really make sure that they understand what I'm asking them to do. So imagine you're my 5-year-olds or your 4-year-olds in the classroom, and I'm going to ask you some questions. So let's see how you can get into the chat really quickly. Okay, so what is the vowel sound in this word? Yeah. We got lots of answers.
Our audience is stunning. They're paying attention. They really know their phonics. It's
Brilliant.
great.
Now, my kids have done 6 sounds, so they should really be good with those 6 sounds. And if I'm kind of using this, and I'm also looking at how I can amplify. So just imagine you've been using this for quite a while now. I'm going to show you something you can do here. So my children should know how to draw all these sounds down from their memory, their whiteboard up in the air, and they'll be able to pull down all these sounds. So if I change the T for P, what does it read? Answers?
Many answers, Yvonne. Pan.
If I take the P, and if I take the T and put a P, what does it read? Give me one answer, Kyriaki.
Pan.
Yeah, if I put a S at the end of pan, what does it read? Answer, Ollie?
Well, we got pans from so many people. I can't even keep up with how many people.
Okay, that's
And I think Brianna was the first one.
yeah, because what I'm doing now, can you imagine with this very simple activity that the children are looking at, I'm using this and I'm also using their knowledge and their skills. So this is just a little way that we can extend. And this is the brilliant thing, interacting with the activity.
Tan.
And this is great for,
Pan.
as you can see, they
Ah.
look segmenting and blending, segmenting and blending. And another activity, tin, we want to identify that children are listening and being able to discriminate that word. They've got tin. So if children were coming up and they were making that mistake, most of my class were putting tan, then I realized I need to stop. I need to stop. If about 40% of my class were making the same error and they were putting tan instead of tin, I want to make sure that they've got that correctly. So I'd go back to that glossary of activities and revise the and revise the ah, just to make sure that they are very clear on the sounds that they are hearing. And also, you're probably thinking, does this become a memory skill? The more they do it, it's easier just to remember what they did. No, because we have a reset button and you can jiggle around the words and also the order. And then we have our little gamification. The kids need to have something to play around with and have a look at. And here we have a very simple activity. But I say simple, but look at this. If your children are learning English, what a great way for dual coding. They are looking at the image and they are looking at the word. It's making sense to them. And also children who may be on your IEPs, we're giving them the opportunity to make that connection between what they see and what they hear and what they read. And also we can do additional activities with this. And as you're going to see here, I think we're going to show you here, look at this. I'm getting the child to put the sound dots underneath. So if I wasn't really sure that my child that just flagged up in my classroom and I wanted to check that they were hearing the sounds, segmenting, are they blending? I've taken them aside or a small group and look, we've gone through this. I've got the child to put the dots of how many sounds they can hear. So you can use the activities to a lesser or greater extent to what you need. A very, very easy application and one that we can easily put through the class in. Here we go, Ant. Oh, this is great. Look at this.
Mm. 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 Ant.
Now imagine you're 5 years old. This is great stuff. It's absolutely amazing that you're using letter sounds that you've learned and it's all coming together. And also you're getting the audio and you're getting the visuals to support it. So let's see what you think. Thumbs up. Can we get a few thumbs up? I'm loving the thumbs up. It's keeping me very motivated. Let's get some thumbs up. Oh yeah, here we go. Thumbs up. Thank you. And the song. Here we go.
Hear the aeroplane, hear the aeroplane, hear the aeroplane, making lots of noise.
And I remember in my class that all the kids used to be going meow, doing the aeroplanes on their knees, going across the classroom, and let them do it a few times. That's the best fun ever, being able to be an aeroplane and get down on your knees and go zoom. And it's memorable. They'll never forget this sound if you let them be able to have that moment of just enjoying that jingle and that chant. And then we move on to the drop-down menu, the last things that we're going to do, which are the worksheets. And as you can see, it complements everything we've been looking at. You've got the teacher's tips here to help you, and also great consolidation. And one thing I would say is that you are fully in control of what the children are doing. It's teacher-led, and the children are never going to go ahead without you putting the classes together. Now, before I move on, do we have any questions? And I'm mindful of the time.
Yvonne, we have a really nice question.
Please, yeah.
Is Jolly Classroom suitable for the teaching of English as a second language in a French school?
Perfect. It is absolutely a perfect accompaniment for teaching English as a second language. We've only got an hour today, but if we had longer, and we will be giving more advice, is what to look for and how to address English as a second language. Luckily, with French, we have so many words in English that are from French origin. It makes a very nice transition from one language to another, but it's a perfect way for children to get the pronunciation correct as well. So that's another thing. Any more questions before we move on? Ollie or Kyriaki?
No.
Oh, there's going to be loads at the end.
I think we've got a couple that we might take at the end, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be loads at the end. Now I'm going to try and connect up live, jung, 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 which is always a big thing. Come on, I know I can do it. Yes, here we go. So do bear with me one moment while I go into Jolly Classroom. And the one good thing about me going on live is that I'm going to go into step 2 to show you the daily lessons. I am mindful of the time, so I'm going to show you as much as I can as time permitting. So as you can see here, I'm live now actually on the platform. And if I get my lozenge correct, you can see I've given you a sneaky peek at step 1, and I'm going into step 2. Now, what you will notice, can you see every time I've completed one of my lessons, I get a little star. So I know exactly where I am within the program. Okay, so that's a really big help. And as you move into step 2, that still continues. And what I've chosen is to go somewhere in the middle so that you get an idea of how we are stretching out the information and how easy it is. So we're going to Unit 5. There's some familiar things there. If you are used to Jolly Phonics, you will know these from the pupils books. And we're going to go into the lesson, the daily lessons. Now, don't think that because it says daily lessons, I've got to do them every day, because some of you may be in schools where you're only doing 3 classes a week, so you can accommodate these to fit you. And this is a tricky concept that we're doing now, the long vowels and magic E. And for some of you, when I say magic E, you'll be going, oh my gosh, you know, that's such a hard concept. So give me a thumbs up if you have that with children. We're suddenly going from short vowel sounds to long vowel sounds can be really quite hard, and you have to slow down. Look at all these thumbs up. So I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah. So let's have a look at this lesson. And you can see this is what is exactly in the lessons for this week or to fit your planning. So we'll go into the long vowel sounds. So again, you can see it's familiar. So for the children, they're moving on with a very familiar way of teaching. It's not that they're going to be anticipating everything, because there are slightly different things in step 2. So it doesn't become boring. And again, they get the opportunity to practice doing these sounds. So we have or, let's go to the next one. I, as you can see, when you can tell how far you're progressing and you can change it. So let's go to the next activity. Now, again, children have moved on with their skills, but to make sure they're feeling secure and they're in the right place for moving on to more complex things, we're going to start with some easy words, easy CVC words. They will have done 2 consonants making 1 sound, so they're comfortable with that, but we're easing them into the activity. We can also get them to run through these by showing how many sounds, using their robot arm, getting them active, but also using that multisensory approach that works very well with young children and children who may need a bit of support. Then we move on to more complex, and look at this. If you've achieved that, you can do this. And look at this. How many sounds in lunchbox? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And this may look difficult, but children are so confident at this stage. I'm going to turn this side off to just get them to focus on this. Isn't that an amazing leap forward with what they're doing? So briefly, I'm going to move on to the other activities. What we have here. Oh, this is difficult because we have k. Oops, I need my handwriting practice. We have k. And we also have k. So in your chat box, give me a word with curly k. So Ollie and Kiriaki, who's first? Curly k.
Duck.
Oh, we got a curly cow. We got a cat. Sorry, I was going with the last one.
Quick fire in the class. I'd be the same. Give me a word with this one. Give me a word with this k.
Oh, we got key.
Okay, brilliant. Ah, that's brilliant. And now a little bit harder. Can you give me a word with making?
Oh, we got rock.
Hey, that is Anne. How many sounds in rock?
We've got 3.
Yay, excellent. How
The
many
chat.
sounds in rocks?
Oh, 4.
Yeah, so I'd be really chuffed with my teaching if the children were acting and giving me the answers that quickly. I'm quickly moving on because I'm aware of the time. And as you can see here, this is where we have 2 sounds, 2 letters making 1 sound. And we get to group 4 and children are suddenly like, oh, I need to slow down a little bit. I need to revise and make sure that every child is in the right place with the first 3 groups before I move on. And here we have an excellent way for children to practice the long vowel sounds. So let's listen.
A.
A, K. So we have this, which looks like the magic E, which you are probably familiar with, where we have the hop over E or the magic E, and it's a long A sound. And here we go. So here we have tap. So I'm going to give you a little trick here. We've got tap, and tap is a little word, tap. It's got a really short sound, tap. So if you're working with children who might find this challenging, we say it's tap. And then we move on to tape. Can you hear how I've really exaggerated? I've got tap, which is quick, and my hands are showing tap. And then I've gone tape, because this is affecting that vowel. And we want the children to practice that. And that's usually a good strategy. Short vowel, long vowel, short vowel, long vowel. Keeps their hands busy as well. And we have the E sound. I'm not going to do all of this. It's just so you've got an idea. So we've got pet, pet. And we've got heat. Who likes this idea? Give me a thumbs up using those little hand movements to help, because it's again multi-sensory. And as you move children onto grammar, you will be familiar with the past, present, and future, and also all the things that we do. So this is another way to help. I'm going to move briefly on. As you can see now, we're blending. And again, we're keeping that skill going. And the children are having more challenging words. And if I move on, look at this. This now is using a good skill, because they're having that discrimination between words that are the short vowel and ones that have the long vowel. And this is really important. They're hearing this. Here we go. See it? Oops. Come on.
Spin.
Spin. Here we have spin. That's not an easy word. Spin. So I've identified spin.
Hop.
Hop. Oh, it's working too quickly now. Hop.
Hat.
Hat. Oh, hate. Hat.
Cub. Cub.
All right. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. There we go. Cub. So you can see how the
Spine.
right. Oh, wow. Here we go. It's
Cube.
okay. Here we go.
Hate.
Hope.
Faster,
Oh.
faster.
Hey, I've done it. I know. And what is that in the middle? Can you tell me? Ollie, what can you see in the middle?
Well, we've got people in the chat. It's a snake.
It's a snake. How many snails can you see?
Oh, who's going to get it? Oh, Jill, you're first. 3.
Is the tree big or small?
Big.
Okay. And what's happening with the weather?
It's raining.
Okay, can you see now? I'm asking children to amplify the activity by using cross-curricular knowledge. And also it gives them an opportunity to see how phonics fits in everywhere in their learning. So we go back now to our downloadable, and as you can see here, the children get the opportunity to use the words and also the activity. So moving on, I'm quite aware of the time. I'm going to close this activity, and it will ask me if I want to move forward. And I think what we will do is, we've got some tricky words here. I'll very quickly go into the tricky words. And this is an opportunity for children to revise the tricky words that they have done. Let me go into tricky words. To revise, but I'm now introducing new tricky words. If you are familiar with the program, you will know that we introduce them group by group. So for example, here we have the word go. And then if we
Go.
move on to the next word, Oops, let me go back. If we move on to the next word, here we go. It will be, come on. Oh,
Go.
Yep, it will ask me to write the word and then we can move on to know. So you're hearing the pattern now. So all the tricky words are put together so they are logical. So children are first learn in the groups like me, he, be, she, because they've all got that sound. So when the authors did this program, they did it in a logical way that the children are making sense. They're not randomly put together. They're put together so that there is a pattern and children work well with a routine and a pattern. If I move down, let's have a look at the games. I'm not going to do all of these, but you can see we need a
1.
gamification so that children
Old.
use this. But don't forget, this is a great opportunity for children who are working one-to-one because we're using tricky words. We're asking them to look at them and what they can say with them. But I would also say, let me get another word up.
1.
One. If I'm doing an activity like this, I might ask for, let's have a look at this word, when. Can you give me a sentence with when? In the chat box, quick as you can, because when you're doing tricky words and you're just doing flashcards, children don't learn about their context. And tricky words don't really have a lot of meanings by themselves, but if they're in a sentence, it really does have a meaning. So do we have a sentence with
Yes.
when?
When is your birthday?
Oh, it's February. Not ready for it yet. I'll have to get Christmas out the way, but thank you for asking. So
When are
when
you
we
coming?
we're going to go back. And how are we doing for time, Ollie? Whoa, right. I want to very, very quickly go into a lovely activity in group. I'm going to go down to step 3 because here we go. Let's have a look at step 3. As you can see, we're really moving on as we go down and my cursor has turned into a thumb. Right, here it comes. That means you're really enjoying this. And I'm going to go into the last one where we have words and sentences so that you can see the whole arc of progression. And I love this story. It's just great. I'm going to go straight into the story because you are now very familiar with a lot of the activities that we have in the platform and also how they are building up. We're repeating but building up and it becomes more challenging. So again, we have a story and I love using this story with children because I often say, oh my goodness, what's happened here? Looks like they're not very happy with each other. And what can you see? So we're bringing the children into the story before we even start. And I'm going to ask you, where is the mouse? In the chat box, where is the mouse? Anyone got an answer?
Not yet. Under the table.
Okay, where is the plate? Where is the plate?
On the table.
Okay, what concepts am I covering? Under, on, where are the king and queen?
On the
Where-
bed.
Where are they, Kiriaki?
On the bed. They're
On the
sleeping.
bed or in the bed? So as you can see, I'm warming the children up, but I am passively teaching prepositions without naming them. So the children are getting a sense of where everything is in the story and we can listen to the story. I'm not going to do that now because of the time, but we can follow through and they're also understanding about names, about proper names, they're proper nouns. And these are really good structures to put in for when we move on to grammar. So we have the story. We also have some comprehension where the children have to remember. They have to remember who this is. And his name is King Alfred. So he's got a lovely grand name and Queen Matilda. So they are all decodable. So everything the child is reading is using all the letter sounds and the strategies they've learned. And what you will notice here in this word castle, can you see that we have 2 letters that are in a very light font? Because the children learn that strategy when they're reading that we don't pronounce those words. We don't say castle, we say castle, and this helps them. But also what they remember is the sequence of letters in there. So that's just brilliant, isn't it? But more than anything, as we move on with the next activity, here we go, we have reading and comprehension. Now, the most important thing here, and this is also mirrors what's in the pupils book, is that children are getting a sense and that curiosity with reading and writing. We're giving them the opportunity to read decodable books, and there is a whole series to match the scheme that you've got different readers that go with the little word books, the orange books that complement the Jolly Classroom program. And what we can see here now, who remembers what the king was called? Put it in the chat box. You remember, Ollie or Kyriaki? What was the king called? You might see it here.
Alfred.
Well done, Nelta.
No, you're wrong. What's the king called?
Alfred.
No. I want you to answer me in a complete sentence, because if you answer me in a complete sentence, when we come to writing, you will write in a complete sentence. So the children used to be going, no, it is a, I'd say no. What's the question asking us? What is the king's name?
So the king is called Alfred.
Alfred, yay! So you'd get a little star for that and a high five. So simple strategies that we can put in to help children and also get them familiar with what is required for when we move on to reading and writing. Now, as you can see here, we are slightly running out of time, and we've had a little dip into all the different stages, and it's absolutely lovely in what we can do and how we can amplify out. But more than anything, your core is absolutely perfect for getting reading, writing, also the language structure in place. But more than that, you have a flight path for where the children start and where they finish. And with the teachers' books and the drop-down menus, you can also have your planning organized so you know where to start. Sometimes for teachers, it's difficult to know if they're not familiar with phonics. So that's why I say get the teacher's book, because it gives you the whole progression. So you know where you're going to finish. And if you're planning for your classes, more so if you have a high percentage of special needs children have English as an additional language, knowing where they're going to finish often helps you plan to where to start. And remember, you have terms. But I know that we have a very global audience today, so your terms may be slightly different to the ones we have in the UK. But who thinks this is absolutely a brilliant resource for the classroom? Please give me your thumbs up. Oh, I've got hearts now. I'm really chuffed with that. Yeah, let's see all these hearts going up. And questions. We have a little bit of time for questions.
Yvonne, we have a really interesting question. Can Jolly Classroom be adapted for teaching SEND students?
Of course, it's a perfect resource for SEN, because the one thing about this is the multi-sensory approach, but also you can use it on a tablet and work individually with a child or a group of children. But the fact that they can use the sound buttons, the tracing, they can have it at a slower pace. You can adapt the program completely to fit in with the remit of what your child requires. And we have many children who are on the dyslexic spectrum or who have audio and visual issues using the program successfully, apart from children who also are using it as an English tool as well. Is it good for private classes? Of course, yes. And also the fact that you can use it with a range of ages, so it's very adaptable. Any more questions?
One of the questions that came up with Taiwo was, why is the word of included in the 72 tricky words list?
The word what?
Of, OF.
Oh, OF, because often children don't hear the f sound of. They can hear the v in it, of. We don't say off. It's a little bit like if you learn English in America or Canada, you'd probably say off, but as a British person, we say of. I'm getting that you can hear that artificial sound. So that's why it's in there. And also, English is a very difficult language in that we kind of modified the pronunciation, but we didn't modify the spelling. So I'll give you an example, like the word jumped. Where on earth does the T come in? Jumped. So yeah, there's a lot of tricky words, but that's why.
A few people asking where the lyrics are for the songs, and I'm not quite sure, and I'm not logged in.
Okay, well, the lyrics for the songs, we have the songbook, and that has all the lyrics that you need. And they don't actually come up in the teacher's book, but we do have them in the phonics book, the phonics handbook, and also the Jolly Songs book, which used to come with a CD and I think now is an audio.
Great, thank you, Yvonne.
Mm.
We've got lots of questions in the chat. One of those questions that has come up quite frequently is how do we adapt for special educational needs? And I think what we'll do in the new year is we'll run a dedicated session for that, and we'll invite everyone who is registered for this session to that as well, because that feels like a real common thread that's come up today. So we'll plan for that in the new year, and look, we listen, and we'd like to give that some dedicated time, I think, for everyone.
Yeah. And I think the one thing about you responding to us in the webinar with what you'd like to hear means that we can give you a really good session exploring all the different ways you can use the resources to address SEND.
Just a reminder that there's a free trial available through jollyclassroom.com. It gives you 2 weeks access.
Oh, now I hope you were paying attention. Shall we go for, remember that activity that had the tree? And I asked lots of questions.
Get your fingers ready. The first correct answer is winning year's subscription.
How many snails were in the tree?
Oh, how many were there? There's so many answers. It was 3, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Tell you what, Christina and Agnes, we'll sort you out a year's subscription. We'll sort that out for you. Someone will be in touch tomorrow, and we'll sort that out for you as well. And Yvonne, is there anything you want to add before I wrap up the session?
The one thing I would love to say is please let us know what you want to hear more of, because in responding to you, we can make more products and also show you how to use the program to its optimum. So please, please, please let us know what you need to hear. And it's been a pleasure as always. And I love sharing the information with you. So goodbye from me and thank you.
Yeah, so thank you, Yvonne. You've done an amazing job. Huge thanks from me to all of our community in the chat, and for Kyriaki for managing all the questions. I'm sure there's a few we maybe missed, but we will come back to those ones. Anyone asking about training, you can find out about training programs over on jollylearning.com and .co.uk. And tomorrow, what we'll do is we'll share a recording of this session for anyone who couldn't attend today, with the links to download the app and access the free trial as well. So I look forward to seeing you all again in the new year. We'll be running monthly webinars, and I'm really excited because we've got quite a lot of innovation and newness coming into Classroom next year. And we're super, super excited about sharing that with you once we're allowed to. So thank you for everyone around the world for joining us, Kyriaki and Yvonne, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. All right. Thanks, everyone.